Yes, there is the notice. Thank you so much. My name is Efrain Escobedo, and as chair of the committee, I would like to call this meeting to order, noting that today is October 20th, and we are calling the meeting to order at 1:15 p.m. Jennifer, would you help us call roll?
Yes, but do you mind if a staff first does the housekeeping?
Please.
Thank you.
Welcome, committee members, liaisons, and members of the public to the Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee. Thank you for joining us. We are using Zoom with the goal to foster a more inclusive environment and effective meeting. If you would like to comment during the meeting, please use the raised hand feature. Please utilize this tool to virtually indicate that you would like to speak in order to help the chair facilitate the discussion. A friendly reminder that this is a video conference and to please be aware of your surroundings behind you. All Legal Services Trust Fund Commission and committee meetings will be recorded and posted to the State Bar website. Zoom captioning is available. To enable, select live transcript at the bottom of your Zoom screen, then select Enable Auto Transcription. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Would you like me to call roll?
Yes, please.
Wonderful. All right. So Escobedo.
Here.
Iskin.
Here.
Wonderful. Alicani. I think you're muted, but I do see you there.
Here.
Mahoney. Oh, thank you.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here.
And Sandville.
Here.
Wonderful. And then for our liaisons, let's see, I see Laura Brown and Zach Newman. Okay. And then for State Bar staff, I see Nguyen, Wormsley, O'Hara, Cheng, Gutierrez, you, McConkey, and myself, Zelnick, and I'm of course we have quorum.
Thank you for that role in having quorum. We'll proceed and say welcome to everyone, both to our committee members, and I'm happy to be joining the committee and look forward to collaborating and working with all of you, and also learning, taking your guidance. And welcome to members of the public who are joining us today as well. Our first order of business this afternoon is to approve our minutes. This is from the open session for August 31st, 2023. If folks have had chance. Yes.
I'm so sorry. Should we see if there are members of the public present?
We should. Yes.
There's one person, but doesn't have a hand raised to speak.
Yeah, we can maybe we can see if members join, and I think before we jump into item 5, we can allow an opportunity for members of the public who may have some public comment. And in the agendas noticed as well, you folks have the ability to submit written comments as well. You can find instructions on how to do that on the website and on the agenda itself as well.
Well, pardon my interruption. If you would like
Not
to
at all.
return.
Not at all. It's my first run on the track as your chair, so guidance and collaboration is certainly the modus operandi for thank you for that. And again, at the juncture after updates, we'll invite any public comment in case we have other members of the public join a little later in the agenda. So returning to our first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes for our meeting from August 31st, 2023. I trust that members of the committee have had a chance to review the minutes from that meeting, and would entertain if there are any questions or corrections, revisions needed in the minutes. If any committee members had any If you could share those now.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Eric. Have a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Tammy. All right. So do we need to call vote or can we do this on consensus?
I'll call vote if that's all right, but Dwan, did you want to make a comment first?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment because we have a couple new commissioners and this is their first time on a committee. I just want to, for the action summaries, even if you didn't attend to the last, and obviously you didn't because you're new to the commission, even if you didn't attend the last meeting, you can vote yes in confidence of your colleagues if you so wish.
That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, so with that, Alikani,
I vote yes.
Iskin,
Yes.
Mahoney,
Yes.
Sandville,
Yes.
and Escobedo.
I vote yes in confidence of my colleagues.
Excellent. The motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think now we go on to item number 4 on our agenda, updates, and update 4.1 and update on homelessness prevention grant administration.
Thank you. I will share my screen. My name is Jennifer Zelnick. I'm a senior program analyst in the Office of Access and Inclusion, and I'm also the Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee Coordinator. I'm joined today by my colleague, Michael Cheng, who is a program supervisor in our office, and I'll actually hand things over to Michael first for his updates.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for the introduction. Just a brief update. I wanted to let the committee know that we've completed our single audit. This is the State Bar's first year for the single audit. It is required because of the federally sourced funds that HP3 came from. Results from the single audit were great. From a programmatic standpoint, the auditors tested specific requirements related to federal funding sources for both homelessness prevention 3, and we also have another grant stream with CalHFA, which was a separate sort of source, and that particular source had actually separate procedures that needed to be done as well. So happy to inform that regarding both funding sources and the test work that auditors performed, there were no programmatic findings, which is great news. As a part of the disclosure, the report for the single audit did also include and incorporate deficiencies that were identified as a part of the internal control review for the State Bar's typical financial audit. Those 2 particular items were in relation to IT deficiencies, just very, very high level. The first one was with respect to IT policy, procedures, and process flows. And the second one was in relation to access control. So both elements had to be disclosed, and we included in the single audit report a action plan with respect to resolution. And so those elements were communicated to both the Judicial Council and CalHFA with respect to the results. And then secondarily, wanted to give a quick recap with respect to our desk review procedures that were done. Up to this point, in terms of count, there are 52 total desk reviews for HP3 grant recipients planned so far. Out of that number, we've completed 36 to date. And we've scheduled the remaining 16 for completion for the remaining months of the year. And, so far it's been a very good process in terms of learning for the staff. We definitely have learned a lot so far in consultation with the auditors and providing TA also to individual grantees that we visited. Dawn, I see you have a hand up.
Do you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to add, first I want to thank Michael for assuring the single audit. It's the first time we have gone through a single audit, and it's a pretty intense audit. So thank you, Michael, and the staff for working on that. I do want to go back to the two findings that we got that's part of the more state bars internal control. We are going to be inviting the auditor, MGO, to the commission meeting in November. We're trying to figure out times and whether they can make it. So I'm not 100%, but it's looking very likely that they will send somebody just to talk about kind of the processes so the commission can hear about it. Again, because it's our first time, I wanted them to kind of describe the process and kind of explain to you all how a single audit is different than a regular audit. And, we are subject to 3 or 4 different audits so they're all kind of really different. And so I think the November meeting would be a good place to kind of discuss that distinction, and then for our fellow new commissioners to know like why we have different audits. And then with these two findings that Michael mentioned, we will be working closely with IT just to track their progress in case you're interested or if there are any concerns through the years. But we have been in conversations with them to make sure that they have a remedial plan, that they'll be on track, and so that this will not be an issue next year, the next time we have another single audit. And again, our office, the grants administration itself, on the program side, there were no findings. So that was really great news.
Thank you, Dawn.
Wonderful. And I just have a few more slides for this agenda item, if that's all right.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind, just was wondering a question, I guess for you and or Michael or Dawn. Were there any of our HP2, any actual grantee recipients that received a grant amount sizable enough to where it triggered they have to do a single audit too, or no?
That's a great question. So the triggering threshold for determining whether or not an organization has to go through a single audit is $750,000 of expenditures in the year cumulatively. So I don't recall the exact count, but we do have submission as a part of documentation intake from grantees that triggered that requirement, inclusive of the award that they received from the State Bar for HP3. So many of them actually, in my recollection, reviewing their single audit reporting, had existing federally sourced grants. And so it wasn't their first time going through it, which is actually good news. And what I can report on is, from a review standpoint, for all those organizations that had single audit reporting required, they did not have respective issues related to programs, and any identified deficiencies were addressed and resolved, if that makes sense. So I think overall, those actually materials were a part of the review requested by our auditors as a part of their overall intake of documentation that we had to provide. So as staff, we're very attuned to that. We have flagged that so that, like, going forward, we know that on an annual basis, we're needing to request and also review those results as well.
And the 750,000, if you want to think about it, this is how our auditors explained it to us. It's kind of a bit like a waterfall. So, it trickles down, it implicates our grantees. If it trips the 750,000, if they sub-grant it, we let them know that they should let their sub-grantee know if it trips the 750,000, that they will also be subject to a single audit. So there's been a lot of TA around this issue because, again, we were learning it for the first time too. And Michael actually coordinated a couple webinars for our grantees as we were embarking on this to kind of explain, that this is a requirement and to explain that we will be reviewing it really thoroughly and giving them TA if there are findings. And, we try to be kind of low stress about it because it's the first time for a lot, and obviously if it's serious enough that will be elevated to you all. But we don't want, because this is a different nature of an audit, we wanted to come in the vein of this is like a learning opportunity for the whole community. But luckily there weren't actually, everything has been addressed that we flagged. So it's we're good. And if there were significant concerns, obviously we would elevate it to you all.
Thank you for that. Yeah, one of the thoughts on it, having been a past subrecipient, some of the ARPA dollars as well, is curious if you got any questions from grantees as to whether, obviously a single audit is in addition to your regular audit, so it often brings additional expenses. So just curious if any sort of, if all that were triggered felt like the funds we provided some of that admin cost and they weren't put out and having to pay extra for a single audit.
No, that's a great question. I don't recall that that particular comment as a part of our sort of coursework in requests that that sort of went out. I think, like I mentioned, a lot of the single audits that did already take place was because of other federal sources, and we just sort of added to that pile, so to speak. And so there wasn't really that issue as something being raised.
Yeah, we didn't ask that direct question. I mean, we didn't hear anecdotally, but that it might be a good reminder, Jennifer and Michael, like they can build it into their budget, like for year two, like that, that's the thing. They can expense it to the grant, and they might not know that. So that may be something I think maybe FRN is getting, so that it doesn't feel like, another administrative burden. I was actually quite surprised in a good way that when we tacked on that single audit to our audit for the state bar, the amount was not cost prohibitive. I was really surprised that it was actually felt very reasonable. So I'm hoping for programs would feel that way too, but they're smaller than us. So that is something, if we have an opportunity, I think it's good to do a checkpoint and to let them know that.
Right. No, that's a great point. I know one of the specific clarifying points was whether or not we could incorporate the expenditure for the single audit as a sort of allowable deduction. We looked at the CFR, the regulations that guide us, and that's definitely not a problem. So that is a good reminder to the grant recipients on that particular point. And to what Duan had mentioned, the cost for us from our auditors for just the single audit that was performed was less than 30,000. I want to say it was like in the mid to high 20s, which included some TA and training that they performed for us. So fairly reasonable.
Great, thank you. Jennifer, sorry about that. I know you've got a couple more slides, and then also want to be sure if other committee members have any questions on your update as well. So over to you.
No need to apologize. Are there any questions about the updates that Michael provided before we move forward? Okay. Thank you again, Michael. So I'm going to talk really quickly about a budget and deliverable revision request. Because we have some new commissioners, I wanted to review our approval process for budgets that are less than 10%. Those are considered self-executing for approval. Budget revision requests between 10 and 25% require staff approval, and those equal to or greater than 25% require commission approval. We received one such request. Currently, our office is accepting budget revision and deliverable revision requests on a rolling basis. The request was for an HP4 initial grant. This request was between 10 and 25%, so it was approved by staff. It was for 14% of the grant total, or $46,018. And this was for LACBA Council for Justice's HP4 initial grant. And staff also approved the deliverables revision request, which accompanied the budget revision. Just briefly, they wanted to expand limited scope self-help services to include the preparation of answers, fee waiver requests, and or demand for jury trial to all low-income tenants in LA County, and collaborate with the LA County Superior Court self-help centers. So that will include the addition of a remote clinic for 2 days each week to assist with pro se unlawful detainer defendants. And this will be staffed by a new part-time project attorney, paralegal, and pro bono volunteers. They also want to work with LACBA, which is their parent organization, to create a pro bono attorney panel to provide full scope rep for the project's priority populations. So those were the populations it originally applied to serve. And those are low income disabled veterans and persons living with HIV/AIDS, as well as their families. And finally, they wanted to increase the number of unlawful detainer defendants served from 100 to 200. So pretty straightforward, but I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions from members of the committee? And Jennifer, you're presenting this under updates, I take it, or is this a record, or do you require any committee action?
So because this was staff approved, there's no committee action required. Great question.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Sure. So that actually concludes the updates. If you would like us to move on to the next agenda item.
Yes, and before we do that, have any additional members of the public joined? And is there anyone wishing to provide public comment before we move on to item 5 of the agenda?
No one has their hand raised.
Thank you, Kimberly. So seeing none, we'll proceed to item number 5 on our agenda. Item 5.1 is action on Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations 2021 to 2023 Homelessness Prevention HP2 Formula and 2021 through 24 Homeless Prevention HP3 Formula Awards. We're going to hear from staff both as this is a discussion and action item report discussion, but also this will be having an action. So we hear staff recommendation and then entertain an action from this committee based on that. But before that, given that this is a report specific to our partners at Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organization, wanted to see if anyone was here from the organization who might wish to provide some comment before we go into staff presentation and recommendation. Do we have anyone from the organization?
Yes, hold on a second. I'll allow them to talk.
Thank you, Kimberly. And if you might, if you don't mind introducing yourself, and like to afford you 5 minutes to provide us your comments.
Oh, do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead and speak.
Okay, was
Yes.
Kim going to speak or was I going to speak?
I'm sorry, I missed the question, Kevin.
I said Kimberly was going to speak or?
I
Okay.
think you're good
No,
to
the
speak.
floor is yours, Kevin. We're providing you 5 minutes of public
Oh.
comment before we hear the staff presentation.
Can I
Over to you, sir.
can I comment after the presentation? Is that okay?
Would you prefer to comment? That is totally fine. We'll still afford you the 5 minutes after the
Yeah.
presentation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do 5 minutes after this presentation.
Okay. Or less
Jennifer,
minute.
over to you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I know that everyone read the memo. I'm just gonna provide some brief notes about what we wrote about. So we'll talk about some key differences between HP2 and HP3, the irregularities found with CCWRO's HP2 and HP3 grants, the steps that have been taken to address these irregularities, a brief review of submitted materials, some notes on federal award compliance and next steps, and then a proposed resolution. And Efrain, just please let me know when you would like for Kevin to speak, and we can stop at any time. Okay, so there are some important differences between HP2 and HP3 grants. They're separate funding opportunities. HP2 grants use state funds from the National Mortgage Special Deposit Fund, whereas HP3 grants use federal coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds. The grants have different scopes of permissible work. HP2 formula grant period is January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2023. HP3 formula grant period is December 1st, 2021 to December 31st of 2024. And while HP2 grants require only annual services and expenditure reports, HP3 grants require these reports on both a quarterly and annual basis. Irregularities with CCWRO's HP2 and 3 grants. State Bar staff discovered irregularities with these grants through a review of all HP2 grant deliverables, CCWRO's HP3 formula desk review, and CCWRO's 2023 monitoring visit. The following issues were identified: failure to segregate activities and expenditures for its HP2 and 3 grants, failure to track actual expenditures by grant, CCWRO reported and potentially double counted and or supplanted the same work for both grants, and CCWRO reported and expended funds on non-qualifying work for both grants. Steps taken to address these irregularities included CCWRO's HP3 desk audit. So on May 31st, staff issued its findings for the HP3 desk review. Staff required CCWRO to respond with a corrective action plan by June 30th. In terms of non-qualifying work, staff clarified what qualifying versus non-qualifying activities entailed and helped CCWRO understand how to retroactively deduct non-qualifying work that it billed to its grants. There was also an eligibility review conference held with CCWRO on July 25th. The EBR committee held an eligibility review conference with CCWRO to discuss internal controls concerns, including the issues raised with its HP2 and 3 formula grants. And finally, technical assistance. Staff met with CCWRO multiple times to clarify grant requirements. Eric, I see your hand.
Yeah, just for context, what is the amount of the HP3 and HP2 grants?
Oh my goodness, I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't have that information pulled up right now. Maybe I can ask a colleague.
Yeah, maybe Chris, can you
Thank
pull it up?
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah, wonderful. Are there other questions so far about what I've presented while Chris is looking that up?
Oh, Chris is coming up.
Feel free to keep presenting. I'll let you. I'll try.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so in terms of reviewing CCWRO's submitted materials, the materials that CCWRO submitted in order to remedy these irregularities were pretty consistently late, incomplete, and or inaccurate, which required multiple rounds of revisions. For example, CCWRO submitted revised timesheets for its staff working on its HP3 formula grant at least 3 times. It continued to provide grant allocation worksheets that combined, rather than segregated, its HP2 and 3 grants. However, importantly, CCWRO did finally submit an updated expense allocation worksheet that segregated its HP3 formula grant on October 6th. CCWRO also submitted spend down plans for its unspent HP2 and 3 grant funds. This was required by the committee at its August meeting. However, these plans deviated significantly from the accounting reports that CCWRO submitted. Specifically, CCWRO underreported approximately $20,000 in HP2 formula funds and approximately $40,000 in HP3 formula funds. And finally, CCWRO's HP3 timesheets and cost allocation worksheet still don't align with its HP3 grant ledger. And as a result of these of these inconsistencies, staff remain concerned that CCWRO is not yet compliant with all federal requirements for its HP3 formula grant.
Thanks, Jennifer. Chris, you came off mute. Looks like, do you have the answer to Eric's question?
I did look it up, and Jennifer, just let me know if these numbers don't ring a bell for you, but I see HP2 formula. This is a 3-year grant, is a total of $172,545 for 3 years. And HP3 formula, which is a 37-month grant, is $442,044.
That's correct. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so just to review some federal award compliance requirements. The Code of Federal Regulations requires grantees to ensure that charges to the award accurately reflect allowable, properly allocated salaries and wages that reflect work performed, to reconcile projected expenditures and actual expenditures at least annually before the end of a grantee's fiscal year, to adequately document costs and only bill allowable costs, and to return unallowable costs. CCWRO's fiscal year ends in June. Therefore, it should have corrected its expenditures in June 2023. Since it missed that deadline and grantees may not correct quarterly HP3 expenditure reports once that data has been reported to the federal government, CCWRO must make these corrections for the next quarterly report, and this is due on October 31st, 2023 for all grantees. And just to give a little bit more information, correcting expenditures includes returning money spent on non-qualifying work. Oh, I'm so sorry. Or at least negatively reporting what has been over-reported. So I believe that actually brings me to the proposed resolution, but I would defer to the chair if we want to hear from commissioners.
Why don't we have you present the resolution, then we can hear from Kevin, and then we can have committee discussion before any action. I see Eric, is that a new hand or is that an old hand?
It's a new hand.
All right. Please go ahead before we have Jennifer present the resolution.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, trying to get some simple explanation of what the deficiencies are as we sit here today. So we've got about $400,000 in HP2 and HP3 grants that have been awarded. They seem to now have allocated their expenditures, I guess, between HP2 and HP3 properly, if I understand your slide correctly. But there's still some deficiencies outstanding. I know you've gone through the slide
back. Yeah. On your same page, Eric.
Can you just handy dandy, like, bullet summary of what's the deficiency? What do we still need from them? What do we not know that we need to know to comply with the reporting requirements?
Sure, and then reviewing that, Jennifer, maybe the previous slide to this one, I think you had the very specific points.
Sure.
Because this is just the general there you go. So, yeah.
Sure. So, and I would invite my colleague Michael to join in as well. So Eric, you're correct that now the grants have been segregated and with the grant allocation worksheet. So that was very important and we're happy about that. Timesheets have been submitted and I believe finalized. There are some discrepancies between the expenditures that CCWRO has billed when compared to timesheets. So that's something that needs to be resolved. Basically, CCWRO has been overbilling compared to the work it has reported completing. That would be the major concern. Additionally, there is a need for CCWRO to correct its spend down plans to account for the correct amount of unspent funds in order to make those spend down plans line up well.
So what?
Michael? Oh, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
What's the what's the kind of scope of the deficiency in terms of the non-reporting? You say that they've not reported, that there's some inconsistency between the reports and what they've actually spent or something like that. I mean, how much are we talking? Are we talking about $10,000 off, $20,000 off, $300,000 off? What's the give me a ballpark here for what we're considering.
We'll try to address one aspect of requirements and what's still pending in terms of correction at a time. So Jennifer had mentioned in terms of the respective federal regulations and the requirements to adjust expenditure activity to reflect actual activity. And so earlier this week, we met with CCWRO to further explain what that intrinsically means and maybe transactionally what they need to look at and how to arrive at the difference. If I were to explain at a very high level, because there was a lack of timesheets in terms of activity tracking. Part of the recommendation and the feedback that we provided to CCWRO was to look at the activity. They've went through that process. They've got timesheets started. They're doing timesheets in terms of tracking HP3 activity for staff involved going forward, and they've done it retroactively as well. So that definitely helps create and address one aspect of things of what is actual activity. And then from a comparison point to expenditure activity, one of the tasks is they need to go back and look at, for each month of the reporting period for HP3 involved, doing that comparison. How much was expensed, right? And how much should have been expensed based off of activity reporting, specifically to direct personnel expenses for staff involved, and maybe administrative expenses for staff involved, and seeing what that caption yields. We talked and provided technical assistance on how those adjustments, once consolidated, can be made. And so hopefully that answers that question. And in terms of the specific dollars at hand, what we looked at was the actual spend down plan. And the way that the calculation was reviewed was, we took the award per year. So for instance, for HP2 and 3, what the award amounts were per year, and compared it with the accounting reporting for those respective timeframes. And when we did that for HP2, we came up with a difference between our reconciliation versus the initial or original spend down plan provided by CCWRO of around $20,000. We did the same activity for HP3. That differential came to be around $40,000. So, if we were talking segregated numbers for HP2, I'm just taking a look at the reconciliation for HP2 for total unspent amounts to date between 2022 and what was available accounting reporting through August of 2023, it's around $60,000 of unspent funding for HP2. For HP3, for those same periods in time, it's close to $120,000 of unspent funds for HP3. So I think in total, for those respective time periods on a consolidated basis, it's approximately $179,000 of total unspent funds. Obviously, the time frames are a little bit different. HP2, you only have a couple more months left to actually spend out what is left unspent. That's $60,000 or so. In HP3, there's the remaining time of this year, and then potentially all of next year in terms of the grant cycle. But having said that, there's also, the last year, the distribution amount for HP3, which is approximately 147,000. So I think, part of the discussion that we had with CCWRO earlier this week was to go over those amounts in terms of how their spin down plan needs to sort of come together to provide a better understanding of how these unspent amounts would be sort of spent out for the applicable timing that's left.
Michael, is that conversation or joint review with CCWRO that you're mentioning from this week, is bullet number, I guess, sub bullet number 3 on this slide that's currently up, is that still reflective of findings from that conversation? Did anything change from that conversation to what's in this report, or is that still all consistent?
That's all still consistent. So,
Okay.
I think that the few takeaways that I would say was, in the conversation with between staff and CCWRO, we were able to discuss these issues financially, the requirements and what had to be done with CCWRO's internal staff and also their external accountant, which I think helps with the conversation a little bit in terms of like having the accountants help look at reporting, looking at the reconciliation to sort of address the potential sort of adjustment that needed to be made on a cumulative basis for HP3, and then looking to see prospectively where they may be at in terms of like total unspent money, and looking at potentially what's like budgeted for the remainder of the year for both HP2 and 3, and then doing that calculation to see at the end of the day how much is still left, what do we have to account for, and how are we gonna address spending those amounts that's on the table. So there is sort of movement. There was good conversation. Obviously, there is some work that needs to be done. But they're sort of in progress.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Eric, also for those clarifying questions. This isn't the end of discussion. I'd like to ask Jennifer if she could move back to the resolution and then have an opportunity to hear from Kevin, and then obviously go back to committee for any additional comments, questions as we entertain action on the recommendation.
Sure. Okay, so staff has presented the facts at this moment in time. Currently, there's still some work to be done for CCWRO to come into compliance for its HP3 formula grant. Essentially, staff are recommending one final opportunity for CCWRO to correct its materials. And what we're asking is for the committee to weigh in on this timeline and to decide if CCWRO were to miss the deadline to be in compliance, what it wants to do. So the October 31st date is a staff recommendation. since CCWRO already missed the requirement to reconcile its grant within its fiscal year. We recognize that this is a pretty fast approaching deadline. It is tied to when the next quarter reports are due. Furthermore, staff notes that if the committee were to recommend a later date, it would mean that staff might not be able to report its findings to the commission at its November 9th meeting. So just something to consider. The next quarterly report is due January 31st, 2024. So those are some things to keep in mind, and I can read the resolution now. Should the committee concur with staff's proposal, passage of the following resolution is recommended. Resolved that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission, Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee approves requiring Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations to revise its 2021 to 2024 Homelessness Prevention, or HP3, formula grant on the Q7 expenditure report due October 31st, 2023 to reflect its actual expenditures. And it is further resolved that if CCWRO fails to revise its HP3 formula grant completely, accurately, and on time by the October 31st, 2023 deadline, that the committee recommends that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission require CCWRO to return any disallowed costs from its HP3 formula grant award as defined in staff's memo dated October 20th, 2023.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
Appreciate that. Is Mr. Aslanian still here and wishing to provide comment? And then Eric, I see your hand. We can, after hearing from Kevin, we can move to committee discussion.
Hi, so couple of things. One, the timesheet, we had a very good meeting with staff, and it was agreed that the timesheets, the three people, three lawyers, I mean, three individuals who are staff. One is Andrew, the full-time staff. Grace Gallagher, she's maybe 16% or 14%, very, very part-time, and I'm very part-time. The timesheets for Andrew and Grace were fine, was acceptable to staff. Apparently it was my timesheet that was bad. So we are, and we're in the process of trying to fix that. That's one. So it's, I mean, and I guess my portion of that money maybe is about $15,000 a year or something like that, or less. The other issue is the spend down proposal. So we got a bunch of helpful information from staff, and I think we want to make sure that we don't submit garbage again on October 31 and then have this brought back to the commission or to this committee again. So we and I think we would ask for, rather than October 31 to be November 30, and that way we will have an opportunity to still start doing the first draft, get technical assistance, make sure that what we're going to present is going to work. So I won't have to be here talking to you all, and you won't have to be here talking to me all. That's my yeah. So that's my 5 cents.
Thank you, sir. And I'll confirm that was definitely less than 5 cents, or at least 5 minutes. So we appreciate you sticking around, sharing your comments. I'd like to now open it up for additional questions or comments from committee members. Eric, your hand was up, so we'll start with you and then see if others have questions or comments.
Well, so I have a question to staff and a question to the speaker. So what I'm hearing the representative from the organization say, Kevin, I guess, is October 31 is not a realistic date. You saying that you're not going to be able to comply with what you need to do by October 31?
Well, we could comply, but then it may not be acceptable because I would rather do a first draft, talk to staff, get technical assistance to make sure, because as you well know, garbage in, garbage out. So, and we've been down this road for too long. I just want to make sure that we have time to give you a product that is well designed and everybody is okay with it. So we won't be back again for your next meeting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and thank you. And Jennifer, if I could ask, and I'll shut up after this, just one question to you. So I want to go to the resolution. You got disallowed costs. That's not the same thing as the entirety of the grant or unspent funds. What do you mean by disallowed costs?
So I'll actually defer to Michael to shore up my definition, but my understanding was disallowed costs could actually mean the entire grant if there weren't documents to support it. At this point, I don't think that's what we're talking about, though. So I would pass it over to Michael to clarify that.
If I may, if today were the deadline, given what has been submitted so far, what would be the disallowed costs?
So that's a great question. I think from a desk review standpoint, we were very specific in the timeframes of the testing, and so to really look at what's really the issue. The regulations make accommodations for organizations to expend from an accounting basis based off of budget. That's definitely okay. What the requirement is to make periodic adjustments to reflect actual activity. And the time frame that we looked at, the variable that we came across was one staff's time by a percentage variability of like 3%. The amount in question, I want to recall, is around $300, right? So for that singular month, it was just that particular instance. And so I think if we get down to this path of trying to determine what the total disallowed cost could be, staff would have to work with the organization, with CCWRO to like review in detail on a monthly basis what was expensed, what was actual activity, and then that would be the determination. Because it's not like a situation when there is no support currently. The organization has worked to get that support in that amount of detail, and so I think from that standpoint, they're addressing these elements. And so the only piece that's questionable is the delta, is the unsupported costs from a personnel direct cost standpoint or overhead standpoint, if there's any allocation percentages involved.
You're saying you don't know what that number is today.
Right. We do not know the number today because the testing that was performed was limited to a particular month in time.
Yeah. So Eric, if I may, and this is not at all staff comment, but just from my own lived experience, it's those costs would be, because those question costs, right? We don't see remedies. They will go back and 100% say, okay, for any timesheet that you don't have properly documented, that you can't show that this person worked on the grant so that you could bill it, give us that money back. These admin costs that you say you had, you can't prove to us or show us in your ledgers where you spent that money has to come back too, meaning they then have to come back, set up and give those funds back, only those that you can't prove or have documentation that you spent on allowable uses in the grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the question I have related to that sort of builds on Eric's is on the second part of the resolution, and it's more just for my own edification. So when you enter with a grantee into sort of this, you go from question cost to just, it's a straight disallowed cost now. You got to return funds. what's that process like? Is it a payment plan type process, or is it a demand letter to lump sum send things back? I'm just trying to think what that would look like for the grantee in terms of the financial impact or demand on it.
That's a great question. Looking and researching the CFR, it is unfortunately very broad in that all it says, it just has to be returned. And so
can I jump
from
in, Michael?
Sure.
Just to, okay, I'll jump in with the office protocol is. So
Yeah, that was, I
if-
guess, my question. Yeah, like
So
how do you
Efren,
handle?
we invoice. So say this motion today, the committee approves this motion, it would go to the commission in November. If they approve it, then it becomes official. What we would do is then let CCRW know in an email and a letter attached to that email. This is the resolution, and then we attach an invoice. If they've already been issued the funds, which I believe in this case they have, then the invoice means that they need to return it. If we haven't issued the funds, and this isn't the case, then we would like offset it, the difference.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, when you do that invoice, do state protocols allow for, say, CCWRO to come back and say, I don't have all the money now, can I establish a payment plan to pay you back?
We have never been asked that question, but if theoretically the thing is, if you haven't spent the money, then you should have the money in your bank account. But if they mistook and they have spent it, then we would bring that back to the commission and say, ask for your approval in that instance.
Okay. Yeah,
but we've never had a problem. The thing is, we never have a problem. We're in a good situation in terms of invoicing and be able to get payment because they have other grants. There's other things at stake. So that's never been a problem.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dora.
Any other questions or comments?
Jonathan has his hand raised.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a question. For Mr. Aslanian, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If not, please let me know. I just have two clarifying questions, one of which is, how did you close out your fiscal year? If there's an issue related to this grant, how did you, from an accounting standpoint, close out your fiscal year for your organization? And you also mentioned during your presentation that you have a staff of 3 that are part-time, including yourself. And the report that was provided by the staff of the commission clearly indicates that you've submitted time sheets on 3 separate times. So I just have to ask, is there an issue with capacity or the ability of the organization to meet the terms of the grant or to do this work with 3 part-time staff, including yourself, and the fact that there's been self-imposed deadlines by your organization that the organization has not met? So can you just speak to those 2 issues?
Yeah, I guess the first issue is we have one full-time attorney doing homeless assistance, and I'm very part-time, and the directing attorney is very part-time. So is that responsive to your first question, Jonathan?
Well, what I'm not clear on, if there's 3 staff, including yourself, that are part-time with 1 full-time staff, is there an issue with capacity if submitted timesheets that are not correct on 3 separate times? It's not like you have a staff of 50 people. So I'm just trying to get a sense of, is there an issue related to capacity or the ability to perform?
But we are performing our job. We do our job. We're advocacy. We are great at doing advocacy. Like many other organizations who are getting HP funds, they also had problems out there with the timesheets and all this other stuff. So that's not unique to us in California, from what I've been told by staff. So we did take corrective action plan. We did take all of the timesheets and it got it right for Grace and Andrew. Mine, I'm not sure what happened, but we're going to fix that too. And if you look at it in a sense, if there's $300, that's about $3,600 a year. I mean, we'd be glad to turn that back rather than going through all this mess, but I don't think even that's correct. I mean, I think that there's a clerical error type of, and we have hired a consultant now. We have an accountant who's going to help us. We didn't have a good accountant in the past, so we've taken steps to remedy that. And I
Thanks
think
for that
that
response.
second question, Jonathan.
Thanks for that response, Kevin. Jonathan, great question. Any other questions or comments from committee members? I think, Eric, I think that's a new hand.
Is a new hand. Yes, I seem to have a lot of hands today. Anyway, so just moving on to the resolution, you know, I appreciate, you know, everything staff has been doing and the organization as well. This is it seems to be a very frustrating process, and I appreciate all the accommodations staff seems to be making here. It's very frustrating. But I mean, in light of the comment from Kevin, is there some reason we shouldn't give him till November 30th, or maybe compromise, give him till November 15th? Because I don't want to be back here. Well, I guess the way the resolution is framed, we're not going to be back here. But I mean, I think that the organization has sent a pretty clear signal that there's a decent likelihood that by October 31, what we're going to get is not going to be satisfactory. So why don't we, you know, will another 15 days kill anybody? I guess that's my thought.
I take it you want to respond to Eric's question.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, Jennifer, our timeline for the commission meeting. So if we provide to me the middle of November and the end of November makes no difference because it's after the commission date. What would that effectively mean is if they don't meet that deadline at middle of November, end of November, this committee won't have an opportunity to bring it back to the commission until the first meeting of the commission's 2024. So that's up to the committee if you want to kind of delay that. I do want to emphasize, and I think Jennifer and Michael have been generous in saying this. We have provided a lot of TA for CCRWO. You know, we can provide TA between now and like we can review another draft in there, and even then that's pretty generous because Jennifer and Michael have walked the organization through kind of what they need repeatedly. But you know, obviously with that's my sense. We defer to you all.
If I
I'm gonna go, Eric, if I might, I want to I see Tammy and Jacqueline both have hands up, so let's go to them and then we can keep the conversation going. So Tammy.
Thank you, Brian. I think I was just going to echo more of Juan's comments. It seems like just based on the memo and the description of staff, there's been a lot of time spent, and it seems like there's been repeated issues. And I think the TA started, you know, back in June, so there's been a lot of time to correct. So just I have a little bit of concern about extending. Yeah, I definitely hear the concerns on both sides, but it seems like we've put a lot of time in this, and I'm not sure that we're making the progress that we would like to see.
Thank you for that. Jacqueline.
Yes. After, you know, I've been reading through the background reports on this, and it seems like our staff have been, you know, putting in a lot of work, going back and forth with the organization, trying to get things straightened out. And every time the organization reports back, the information is still not resolved, and there's still conflicts with the data that they're presenting and the reports that they're presenting. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how long this has been going on. If I understand, has this been going on since June or what? And my other concern is that I know a part of this are state funds and part are federal funds. So if we extend the deadline, then again, then are we going to be in compliance with federal law regarding any of the funds that are federal? I think that's really important. And I also just think that the amount of time and effort and services that staff has provided seems sufficient to me. And now that the organization has hired some accounting assistants and all of that, it seems like they've had ample time to respond properly, because I think it's very serious, these kind of discrepancies. And so it's very, disconcerting to learn about these kind of discrepancies. They should be taken very seriously. I think it's really important.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And I mean, I'll weigh in and go back to Eric, but we'll just say, I agree. I think that, staff have been very generous. I actually commend Kevin for coming and sharing how it's been developmental in the sense of they've learned and set some corrective steps in place, adding capacity. Thanks, Jonathan, for that question of helping us see that they've got an accounting consultant. I think also too is trying to keep this into kind of contained within the fiscal calendar, right, and keeping it there. And Jacqueline, appreciate your point. If I think one of these two does have ARPA monies, there are unchangeable deadlines to when these funds need to be spent, and so if any need to be clawed back, allocated, that also has a timing issue. With the added capacity that they have with an accounting consultant, I mean, the other thing is there's no information they're waiting for. This is a lot of retroactive cleanup data. So this is all information that's been reviewed. They've touched it a few times, and hopefully now an accountant is helping to present it and link it to documents a little bit better. So it's a timeline that is close to us here, but sounds like not new to the organization, and that they've been working on this and know what they're working towards. So I think that there's a lot of good points there. Eric, I'll turn it over to you, but also don't want to lose the fact that it sounds like you were asking whether the deadline could be moved. I think staff's response was, well, we may be able to. I think the question to commission would be, would we want to amend the resolution to move that deadline or not? But over to you. Just wanted to summarize where we're at in entertaining the resolution.
I'm not going to pound the table on this. I actually, frankly, agree with the sentiment that's been expressed by people. I just have a different. So I'm not going to push the extension if that's not what people.
Got it. Okay.
But I do have a question to Dwan. You mentioned something about going to the commission. Why would we need to go to the commission on this?
The commission, in order to like reduce a grant or increase a grant or approve a grant, that's commission authority. It gets elevated to the commission.
But so wait, if we approve this resolution, if there's not compliance by October 31, are you saying we have to go to the commission before we could disallow?
Yeah, you have to go to the commission before you call back money like this.
Okay, so this isn't the final step. All right.
And that's why that's a complication. So the other option that's not on here that I just thought of, and I didn't consult with staff, so apologize for this, Jennifer. If you wanted to provide a little bit more time, but you wanted to not have to go back to the commission, you can ask the commission to delegate authority to the committee. That's a little bit unorthodox because from having worked with the commission, they seem to like to know when we are reducing a grant. But that is an option. Again, I don't know how the commission would respond to that. That is one option.
I think that's helpful, Dwan. Efrain, I don't know if you saw, but Kevin has his hand raised again. I don't know if you'd like to entertain.
I mean, unless there's committee members have any specific questions for Kevin, I think we've got good information. And Eric, your question was great because it helped Dwan kind of expand a bit. I think that we've got the resolution before us. Doesn't sound like we've got any suggested amendments that we might all want to entertain as a committee. So maybe we could take up the resolution. I will say, and thanks for that, Eric, that what I heard Dawn saying is in the event that non-compliance on the 31st triggers that additional action of clawback and disallowance, is that this would go to the commission. I actually think that it's good to let the commission act because it creates that second step and a bigger body can deliberate on whether at that juncture we might want to consider a different action, but at least there is a definitive step for staff on this is the deadline. And then if not, we work towards this next step. And Eric, I hear where you were going. It's, ultimately the commission may explore other options if at that time things didn't work out, but we learned a lot more and we see where progress is at. But for now, we have this resolution in front of us. So I'd like to see if there aren't any more from the committee questions or comments, move to entertaining a motion to adopt the resolution. Jonathan, you're coming off mute. Does that mean you have a question or comment?
No.
I'll move the motion as written.
Tammy moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jonathan, second. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer, would you like to call the roll?
If I may, thank you. Alakani,
I vote yes to accept the resolution as written.
thank you. Iskin,
Yes.
Mahoney,
Yes.
Sandville,
Yes.
Escobedo.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Alasanian, thank you so much for not just providing comment, but sticking around to provide a little bit more information for us. Wish you best of luck and thank you to staff and hope that you all continue to provide support to our partners as they meet that 31st deadline. So we've got item 5.2. Jennifer, approved 2021 and 2022 through 2024 HP3 grant reallocations.
Thank you. So staff will actually provide an update on this agenda item. Unfortunately, administratively, we are not ready to finalize the reallocation. We'll need to rerun it because additional funding was left on the table and additional grantees who expressed interest in participating would otherwise not be able to do so. So we will rerun the reallocation to ensure full participation. We're going to ensure that involvement is easy for everyone, for all of our grantees. And we plan to bring this agenda item back to the committee for final approval at its December 4th, 2023 meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has questions about this.
Thank you, Jennifer. So no action today on this. Thanks for the update. Any questions? Great. Seeing none, is there anything else on agenda item number 5? I'm asking staff. If not, then maybe we could move to adjourn.
Nothing else from staff.
All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I think we can just end.
Let's put a deadline on it. So it is 2:28. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. And thank you, staff, for guiding me through. It was my first.
Good job.
Great
Great
job.
job.
Jane. Yeah, really good.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.